Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean,
Chris,
and Lee.
And we're back over Skype this week due to slight contagious illness issue with me, but you have to be a patron to find out just how bad it is.
I thought we were on Discord, technically.
We are on Discord, but it was on the Patreon show, wasn't it? This is the F1 show. We've switched now.
Pay us money to find out if it's COVID.
Oh, God. It's going to be a long night. Yeah, how are we all doing? We've
all right, yeah.
We've had a weekend without any Formula One.
I'm quite grateful for that, if I'm honest. I don't mind a triple header, but I can see why they don't want to do too many of them. So let's do another one.
I think it is nice to have that little breather, isn't it? And just deal with something else for a week.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I didn't mind not having a race.
Yeah, it was. Saturday afternoon. It was like I'm normally doing something and watching something here. I don't know what's. Oh, hang on, there's football I can watch. And it wasn't motorsport just for one weekend.
Yeah, football for like the next 2 weeks, and it's some sort of weird. Yeah, football goes into some sort of like weird tournament thing where people are with all the teams and all the European teams doing a tournament in like two cities or something.
Something like that. I've not paid much attention. My main interest was the National League North playoffs on Saturday, which York got knocked out of, so it didn't end well. So, yeah, football's done for me until September.
Same here.
But other than that, F1 is back this weekend. It seems weird saying F1's back when it has been away so long, and then we had 3 weeks without it going away at all.
Yeah, well, we got a preview, but not a review to do for the first time since it returned.
Since a month ago.
Yeah.
And it's the first of the two British Grand Prix, or the British Grand Prix and the 70th Anniversary Grand Prix.
Yeah, the 70th Anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone. Got, you just said, British Grand Prix first, which is, 2 weeks after it was originally scheduled to be?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
2 weeks after the original scheduled British Grand Prix is the actual British Grand Prix, the Anniversary Grand Prix, which is going to be on the same layout. And then we're supposed to be going to Spain. However, things have changed a little bit internationally with Spain over the last, we say, 48 hours.
Yeah, I'd say since the weekend, and it's Monday night as we're recording this. So yeah. Spain, it's not looking good because Catalonia and Barcelona especially seem to be having a bit of a serious uptick in COVID cases. And
huge spike.
Yeah. And, of course, the circuit is about 5 miles outside the centre of Barcelona.
Yeah, it's up a little bit in the hills, but you would still, to get there, presumably you go through the airport, which is not a million miles outside the city centre.
Yeah. There has been talk that Silverstone is prepared to host a third race, seeing as originally they offered 12 to the FIA to hold
generous.
To hold the entire European season there.
I don't think that was a coincidence either. I'm going to go full on Lee here and say that I think that the fact that Stuart Pringle, the CEO, I think he's the CEO of Silverstone, he came out and said that we were willing to hold 12 races if F1 wanted us to. You know, we had the capacity to hold 12 races over the course of the year. And then the following day, the Spanish Grand Prix, not necessarily thrown into doubt by the sport, but the government are like, if you're returning from Spain, you've got to isolate now for 2 weeks. And then today, the UK government have said, look, we're going to advise against all but essential travel to Spain because the COVID is getting really bad over there again.
So
I think that was well timed.
Yeah, so we could be seeing the first ever triple header at one circuit.
Do we want it?
I don't know.
If they mess around with the layout, they can't do the same circuit. Well, they can do the same circuit 3 times. But if they're going to do the same layout, then what they need to do is mess around with that third race, you know, the format of it, do a sprint race or something, and, you know...
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that Stuart Pringle said is there's no way they could change the layout, because if they use the international circuit, he said you'll get half of the best corners twice as much, so why bother?
Yeah.
It is only the Grand Prix circuit as well that has a Grade 1 licence. So like the national circuit, or is it? There's an endurance one, is there as well? I think
there's the national.
Is there an international? There's a few names.
National, international, northern, southern. I was going to say Indy, but that's Brands Hatch. That's got the Indy circuit.
Yeah.
So yeah, they would not qualify.
So it's gonna have to be 3 races on the same layout. They've said that they can't race backwards because it is designed to run in the direction that it runs, with things like curbs, runoff areas, barriers, safety protection. Which I guess it's understandable. You don't build a circuit thinking, oh, we could run this both ways.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's not something that you want to do, is it?
Not greatly. So yeah, for the second race, for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, the tyres are going to be 1 compound harder, which is a slight difference.
Compound harder.
Sorry, is it
from the first?
Sorry, it's
the first and the second race.
Sorry, it's 1 compound softer on the
okay.
the second race, because Silverstone is normally one for the harder compound tyres anyway. Because that's what remember the infamous Ultra Hards from 3 years ago?
Was it not super hard?
Was it super hard?
The orange one.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was super hard. I think there were lots of boner jokes.
Sorry, I was waiting. We're not doing that till next week.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that one doesn't get used until
Free
next
advert.
week. Tablets are available. Stay tuned for 7 days to find out.
Listen to next week's podcast to see exactly how we can help with that.
So yeah, they're going to go one compound softer, so it's going to be C1, C2, and C3 on the first one, C2, C3, and C4 on the second. And then for the third race, yeah, I think this is where something different has to happen. F1 have already said that for the Imola race, it's going to be a 2-day event just on the Saturday and Sunday.
And no Friday practice.
From the looks of things, 1 practice session on a Saturday and qualifying. And that'll be it.
Possibly an hour and a half practice.
I
think that's what they're touting, isn't it? A longer, what would be FP3, but it's technically going to be just 1 practice session.
FP.
And as you say, FP, yeah. And then you've got the qualifying and then the race. But I am a little bit worried about. We'll move on to the new circuit soon, but I'm a little bit worried about there being a race in Imola in November.
Yes, yeah. Talk about that shortly. But if they're prepared to do something with the way that things are running at a race later on in the season, have a 2-day event, then I think it is time to look at the reverse grid, the sprint race on a Saturday. Just to break up what will be 3 incredibly similar races.
It's not going to happen though, is it? Because all the teams would have to agree on it, and we know Mercedes won't agree on it.
For 3 races at somewhere like Silverstone, it wouldn't be Mercedes who'd be the issue. It'd be someone like Ferrari having to come in from outside. For the 7 British-based teams, that would be not the end of the world.
No, I meant shaking the...
changing the format and tinkering, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we already know that Mercedes are going to walk away with the next 3 races, barring any technical fuck-ups, which, let's face it, rarely happen.
I think we'll walk away the rest of the races, to be fair.
Yeah, but we're only looking at 3 at a time at the moment because we know what's going to happen. So if it is 3 races at Silverstone, that's...
And if it's 3 races at Silverstone, I mean, the possibility of travelling to Spain. Sean, did you say Manchester City have been given a special dispensation?
They have.
To go?
Yeah, they've got a Champions League match in Spain coming up, and they've basically been given special dispensation. If they stay in their bubble, they're fine. They won't have to isolate when they come back.
So it would be the similar situation for a professional sport such as Formula One that's supposed to travel in a bubble with the stringent testing that they've got. It's possible that they could still do that in Spain, I suppose.
I think officially they are monitoring the situation.
The problem is, though, of course, with Manchester City, it's everybody coming from and going back to the same country.
And of course, Manchester City have an airline. They would all be on one plane.
Yeah. With Formula One, you're going to be getting people coming into Spain from different countries, going back to different countries. Yeah. And, what do the Italian and the Swiss governments think of things? Because obviously you've got teams coming in from those countries as well. You'll have, obviously, the Renault technicians coming from France. Various Red Bull types from Austria, perhaps. So it's a little.
I don't know if they're allowed in the should we say in inverted commas the bubble, but yeah.
And of course, engine technicians coming from Honda in Japan.
Yes.
Pirelli as well would be coming from Italy. Not just.
Although their main manufacturing department's in France for the F1 tyres, apparently.
Fair enough.
But they'll still have the technicians in Italy.
Yeah.
So, it's more than one football team, and it's a hell of a lot more people. I don't know. I'm fearful for the Spanish Grand Prix. I mean, it could be that they decide not to have the third race at Silverstone. We lose one off the calendar, which is why there's been, we're getting new races added.
I think the only saving grace for 3 straight weeks at Silverstone, no chance you get 3 dry weekends on a row in Britain.
No, exactly. That
Definitely a wet race in there.
That's a fair point.
Never thought of it like that.
British summer.
So, race 1, sunshine. Race 2, starts raining as the first car crosses the line. Race 3, maybe we get the wet one. It's guaranteed to rain on all those 3 Sundays. It's just during those 2 hours that we want it.
Yeah, it's guaranteed to rain an hour after the race. That seems to be the way, doesn't it?
What was the year? Lee, you'll remember this. The year that Jenson Button was driving McLaren, and he arrived on the grid, and Martin Brundle spoke to him and said, "What's it like out there?" And Jenson Button went, "It's absolutely tipping it down at the top end of the circuit. Yeah, it's dry here."
Yeah.
That wasn't just for like a few minutes. It was like, I think it was the first year after they changed after they opened the new Silverstone wing complex. Not really new anymore, but I think that was the first race that they had the start line where it is now, and what they now call the back end of the circuit was it was just absolutely chucking it down, but the start line was bone dry.
Can't beat a British summer.
And we're having one of those summers, aren't we? Let's be honest.
Yes, it rained quite a lot yesterday.
And today.
Don't know whether it rained today or not. I've not left the sofa, apart from to run 20 feet in the other direction.
Today was ridiculous. It was ridiculous rain to the point where if you jumped in the sea, you wouldn't have been any wetter than if you just stood outside for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like yellow weather warning rain this morning. It was not good.
The kind of rain where somebody would have still gambled on Inters just in case.
Yeah, probably. Why not?
The Esteban Ocon, who was asked on the start line at Silverstone a couple of years ago, what kind of tyres you're going to go on, he's just like, "Oh yeah, mediums."
Yeah. I remember that.
So Inters Esteban, mediums.
So yes, these new 3 races that have been added to the calendar. Well, 2 returning races, really, I guess, and 1 new circuit, because we're going to get to see a Grand Prix at Imola for the first time since, I want to say
2006.
Is it 2006? I was going 2003, but I'm glad you jumped in with that one.
I think it's 2006. I think 2006 was the last one because piece of trivia that was thrown up on Twitter: the only driver on the grid to have raced at Imola previously is Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah, I saw some joke where it was something like last time Imola was on the circuit, I think it was like Lando Norris was 5, George Russell was I can't remember exact ages, and Kimi Raikkonen was 6th.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think it was 2006 because the last time I remember that circuit was on the Formula One game that was on the Dreamcast. So if it was earlier than that, I don't.
Wow.
2003 probably would have been too early, so it must have still been there.
Well, I can remember an Alonso Schumacher battle going on there, where Schumacher was hounding the hell out of Alonso, and Alonso just he basically did a center. He put that Renault everywhere that Schumacher wanted to try and get past.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been the last race or the second to last race there. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I'm
better driver.
Well, we've touted for years, haven't we? That not years. I mean, Imola have done it themselves, kind of by being like, "Oh, well, we've got our our Class 1 classification back. We can have full F1 races here. Let's have a Formula One race at Imola, and we've been questioning before the calendar comes out over the last couple of years. I wonder if Imola's going to be on it this year, especially when Monza was under threat. I wonder if Imola's going to be on it this year. Now, finally, thanks to COVID, weirdly in Italy, we're getting the return of Imola, as well as the return of the Nürburgring short circuit.
2013 was the last one there, I want to say.
I think it might have been slightly more recent. I think they might have had one in 2015.
Maybe, yeah. But 2013 seems about right. A few drivers will have raced on that if it is 2013. And then Portimao, with the Algarve International Circuit, as I think it's officially called. Formula One has never raced there, but I think pre-season testing was held there around about 2008.
That rings a bell.
So people like Robert Kubica, Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Räikkönen, they will all have some kind of knowledge of there. But I can also remember Formula 2 or Formula 3 racing there. One of the junior formulas definitely raced there.
I think it might have been GP2, and I think it's a pretty much a regular one on the Euro Formula series. Last Nürburgring race was 2013. The 2015 one got cancelled because they ran out of money.
That sounds about right.
Because that was when the whole Save the Nürburgring campaign started. And that's why we lost the 2017 race as well.
It's not been successful since then, has it, really, as a concept, the Save the Nürburgring thing?
Apparently they managed to save it enough to have one race this year.
Which is good. It's good that we go back to the Nürburgring. But interestingly, the Eiffel GP, not the German Grand Prix.
Because the Hockenheim promoters have the rights to the name the German Grand Prix. This is where it all gets confusing because not only are the naming rights bundled up in financial packages that circuit promoters pay to Formula One, but there's also TV rights in there as well. Now, this is why the British Grand Prix and the 70th anniversary Grand Prix are happening, because the British Grand Prix has to be shown live on free-to-air TV over here, so British viewers will get to see it on Channel 4. However, the following week, when they're racing at exactly the same circuit, it doesn't have to be shown live because it's not the British Grand Prix.
No.
So it's back to highlights packages, which I think in some ways sort of, it's a bit crap.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things that it's you're not gonna get you're not gonna get it's a standout event, isn't it? That's why it has to be made free to air on TV. Like the World Cup final, if they decided to play 2 World Cup finals, which they wouldn't do, but if they decided to play 2, I very much doubt you'd be able to watch both of them. You'd watch the one that counted.
Yeah, I suppose, but that's why we don't have a German Grand Prix this year, and we do have the Eiffel Grand Prix.
Yes, because it's in the Eiffel Mountains.
Now, after all this time with Hockenheim saying, we're able to step in at short notice to host a race, it would appear that the particular area of Germany that Hockenheim is in have just tightened their own COVID restrictions, and there are to be no large sporting events of that size to be held in that area.
Makes sense. At least coming out and being honest. I do wonder if by the time this podcast goes out, we'll have something about the Spanish Grand Prix. As I say, I kind of hope it can go ahead, but I mean, rewind to March when Australian Grand Prix looked like it was about to go ahead. We were all like, "What are you doing?" And they made the call so late. It made Formula One look ridiculous. So rather they made the call early.
I think they've got a lot more wiggle room with this one, because getting everyone out to Australia and cancelling it just before the first cars were about to go on track.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to ship all of Formula One out to the other side of the world from where it's based.
Yeah.
Whereas getting to Spain isn't as difficult. But still, you know,
the COVID thing again, though, isn't it? You know, the COVID wasn't rife in Australia in March, although it was there. It was happening.
and as it turned out, it was in the McLaren paddock.
Yeah, that's why they pulled out, causing Mercedes to essentially call for the cancellation of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Like, because things seem to move so quickly with this at the minute. You know, we've got like the best part of a month, really. You know, before we've got to go there. So I think it's something that won't be addressed until after the second British Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the best way to do it because, like you say, it's a very fast moving situation, and they can at least they've got the time then to see where we are. You know, it could be a different situation in 2 weeks, and Spain may have started to recover again. Oh look, Windows is trying to tell me I don't have a virus. That's very nice.
Well, let's look at it this way. It wasn't so long ago that in the UK you couldn't leave your house, and we were on Skype talking to each other saying that we might not get any Formula One this year. You know, now there's a whole season here. Restrictions are being lifted all over the place. So I've obviously gone back in places, but you know, it's something that's forever changing. It seems.
That is true.
I think as long as they just keep things fluid and are prepared to be like, oh, right, well, we'll hang on an extra couple of weeks for you, or actually, could you come forward a week or two, then it'll be fine.
I've also seen that Portimao, the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Sorry, are you trying to say, can you give it some time, Corona?
Yeah, the Portuguese Grand Prix
Moving
may
quickly
be able to let people in to watch.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's not until the end of October. So we've had these 3 new races, haven't we? So is it Portugal first, and then Nürburgring,
Yeah.
and then Imola? We've got that right, yeah?
I think is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's possibly the case. Sorry, we're being invaded by a podcat.
Okay, I think they've got that the wrong way
Oh,
round.
hang on. No,
because-
sorry. It's Eiffel Grand Prix, then Portuguese Grand Prix, then Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, it's one of those things that I really think they need to look at moving Imola, you know, as close to October, September time as they possibly can, because I made this point on our chat thread, but Imola is surrounded by trees. And trees drop leaves a lot during autumn, and it's going to be the middle of autumn in November, and leaves and Formula One air ducts and radiators are not going to go well, bearing in mind that we've all driven on roads over here that the leaves have just been cleared off of, and my God, is it slippery as fuck.
The Pirelli mulch tyre, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what kind of you're almost going to ruin the 2-day event at Imola by having it in November. I'm not saying the weather's definitely going to be terrible. I'm saying there's a high chance of it being terrible, and you know, we'd be looking at like winter testing temperatures for something that would be a Grand Prix event, even though it's only over the 2 days. You're not going to get the best out of the cars or the drivers when the track and the weather is not going to be at its best, because you don't in Spain in preseason.
No, that is true. I mean, it's going to be an interesting situation. I don't know what they're going to do. Then again, it's Italy. They'll probably just burn the trees down. just say it's a temporary fix. Burn the trees down, then you won't have to worry about the leaves.
Yeah. Well, no, our trees have always been evergreen.
I mean,
just suddenly and there with a pot of green paint and some glue.
I was going to say,
making sure the leaves do not move.
I was going to say, if this was in the days of Bernie, then yes, they would be painted fake green.
When Birmingham spray painted the grass when Bill Clinton arrived.
I'm trying to remember which F1 circuit did it one year as well, and I think that was down to Bernie's doing.
Was it? They spray painted the grass.
Yeah.
And Birmingham did it to make the grass look more green for the president of the USA when he turned up in the 90s.
I don't know. Random attack of wet, slushy leaves, though, does sound like something Bernie might have come up with back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Leaf blower,
Yeah.
attack!
Yeah, leaf blower and some sprinklers. That'll liven it up a bit.
But Ferrari will still have set up the car for, I don't know, long grass by mistake.
What do you reckon, Lee?
I don't know. Again, it's whoever's thinking of these things. You like to think that this has been planned. Do you know what I mean? You'd like to think there'd be some sort of like local knowledge that's gone into this.
I mean, it could be. I mean, they may have made quite a lot of changes around the area of the circuit, because don't forget, it's been a while since there's been any form of top-level motor racing there. You get the sort of more regional series and the
Italian GT races there.
yeah, the more niche ones, and the Ferrari Challenge, which you can tell I've been playing too much iRacing, so I was watching the racing on that last weekend, and one of the drivers was that slow off the line, and by turn 3 they were about 5 seconds behind, and I thought, he's only doing this for the safety rating. So I mean, they may have changed the way the circuit works. I mean, the most sporting activity I've actually seen at Imola over the last few years is they usually stick a bit of the Giro d'Italia around the circuit.
Yes,
So you get to see bike racing, and without fail, every year it rains.
I learnt that from you, I think. I think you told us that one year when we were watching to see whether Imola would be added to the calendar. I think it was 2018, possibly. And you and Dan were talking about the Giro being held at Imola.
Quite possibly back 2 years ago. But yeah,
Don't forget, the official name of the race circuit at Imola is the Autodromo Dino Enzo Ferrari, or Enzo e Dino Ferrari.
and Enzo Dino, I'm left-handed Googling as we speak.
Yeah. So it's named after the two brothers who basically started Ferrari, and yes, Ferrari is an Italian passion, but it's they've also got.
Are they going to be allowed to cheat at it then?
No, not at all. Because they've also got their 1000th Grand Prix at Mugello, haven't they? The which is the Tuscan Grand Prix.
Unless, like, the Spanish Grand Prix ends up getting cancelled.
Now, this will mean that if the Spanish Grand Prix is under threat of cancellation, Ferrari will be the ones pushing for an extra race at Silverstone. Has everyone disappeared?
No. Listen
No.
Have we disappeared? We
No,
shouldn't have done.
No,
You're still here.
I haven't disappeared.
Yeah.
I'm having a think because.
Do it out loud.
Well, no, because if they remove a race, then that moves everything forward one. So does that mean that the 1000th race would be in Russia? I haven't got the calendar open in front of me.
think it would make it
it
Russia.
would make their 1000th Grand Prix Sochi.
What a celebration that would be.
That well-known Thriller Millennium Circuit. Which apparently is going to be the first race on the calendar to let fans in.
Russia and Portugal possibly looking at letting fans socially distanced, I suppose. Like you must sit in this seat, which is approximately 4 meters away from anyone else.
That's just Russia, isn't it?
I think we did joke last week, didn't we?
Russia packs everyone into one grandstand.
Yeah, social distancing in Russia shouldn't be too difficult.
Look how busy this race is. Busiest race on calendar.
Technically it will be at that point, won't it? It will have had record
will.
attendance for the season.
Yeah, don't
Because
forget.
the person in the grandstands is not Ted Kravitz.
Ted plus friend.
Don't forget, Russia apparently hasn't had any cases of COVID at all. And
Officially, it has now, but they denied it for a long time.
oh right, yeah. Well, they couldn't admit that there was COVID there because Putin was too busy fighting bears with his top off or something. Probably going to get a lot of crap from that. Not from any regular listeners. It's just that all the Russians that hack into our server.
Which has happened once
I was
before.
going to say you're joking, but that has happened.
Yes, it has. I'm being very careful. I might edit that one out before we put the show out.
Maybe a little bit of Jacques.
No.
Howard.
So you're listening to Must See Audio. So yeah, we could have fans in attendance at 2 of the European races. Can't see it happening in Germany, and I think Italy are going to be very careful about it. And would we notice if they did or didn't let fans in Bahrain?
No, because I don't ever remember seeing any fans at the circuit in Bahrain.
I think Bahrain is one of the circuits that has the best fans, though, is it not?
Yeah, he thanked both of them personally.
I think it has had best fans, but that was obviously clearly when Lewis won a race at some point. Yeah.
No, that might have even just been for a pole position.
Yeah, I mean, to say that Bahrain has the best fans, I'm not saying they're not the best fans, but I mean, the ones that made it to the circuit without getting beaten.
I mean, that takes some doing. It's kind of like Takeshi's Castle made real.
Yes, with tasers.
I think that is kind of it for the calendar speculation, really, at the moment. Because I mean, obviously, we're waiting to find out what's going to happen after. Where are we? After the 1st of November. So we've got another 6 weeks worth of races to find out.
So we've got 13 races, haven't we? That's it. Now, if they all go ahead, we're up to 13.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't think it would be wise to have another European race in November. So we now have to look outside of Europe for the rest of the season. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I'm just looking for the latest European race that we've had. Which I think was the 97 European Grand Prix at Jerez, which was
that was the last race of the season, wasn't it?
Which was meant to be in Estoril, and then Jerez filled in when Estoril couldn't fill in all the potholes that they'd got, and that was 26th of October.
Yeah,
remember all those years ago when the season used to finish sort of a long way before Christmas.
Yeah, I mean they've said that they want to run until December, don't they? But so where are we looking? If that's going to be if the 1st of November, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at Imola, it's the final race of the European season. That's 13 races. Where are the other races coming from to fill that gap between 1st of November and the middle of December?
So it's going to be China.
No,
Vietnam. China off again now.
China's off again now. Malaysia's back on the back on the table.
Vietnam still is tentatively in the ring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Bahrain.
And Bahrain 2.
Bahrain 2, presumably, Manama or whatever it's going to call itself.
Sorry.
Who else have we got? Japan have definitely cancelled, haven't they?
Yeah. China won't be happening because bits of China are going into lockdown again.
Yeah.
The Americas is officially off the table now. F1 have said this week it's not going to happen, just purely for safety purposes, because I think you set foot in the Americas at the moment and shit will happen.
Yeah, Melbourne's back in lockdown, isn't it?
Yeah, Melbourne could
Australia
be
out. Yeah. Australia is no Grand Prix in Australia. Logistically, I think is the reason for that.
Yeah.
But we could be looking at Malaysia and Vietnam, Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, and did we say
another Bahrain?
It was going to be 2 Bahrains, one on the standard Grand Prix circuit and one on the almost an oval.
Oh,
that's only 4 races to fill 8 weeks, 7 weeks.
I want to say Bahrain has something ridiculous, like 5. I think we've been through this before, haven't we? They've got 5 Grade 1 licensed configurations.
Yeah.
They could do half a season if they wanted to.
Yeah, I'm just
I think definitely. I think we'll be looking at 2 at Bahrain, on possibly even on different layouts.
Well, they were pretty high on that Roval type layout, weren't they? At one point.
And maybe that
not the endurance circuit again, please.
No, they've got a different one.
Abu Dhabi has a lot of different layouts. I know the races there usually aren't super exciting, but there is a possibility, I think, of different layouts at Abu Dhabi as well because of the possibility of chopping certain bits of the circuit out or reusing different ones. But, yeah, that could be. You might have 2 Bahrains, 2 Abu Dhabis.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi has 2 different layouts that is grade 1. Bahrain has 5 because it's crazy.
Right, so if there's a second Abu Dhabi race, can we please make sure that it's sponsored by the Flintstones? Abu Dhabi 1 and Abu Dhabi 2.
Let's have a look. Bahrain has 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, it definitely has 5. Abu Dhabi only has 1 layout.
No, it's got 2.
Yeah, it's only got 1 grade 1 layout.
No, it's got 2 grade 1 layouts.
I've got it up in front of me, and it's the 2016 version.
It has now got 2.
that would explain why that looks wrong.
Something called the Moscow Raceway has got 2.
Oh, double Russia.
Well, it could be triple Russia.
Maybe could be triple Russia. How about everybody seems to have forgotten about the Turkish Grand Prix, the Istanbul Park.
Yeah, that's still available.
I mean, when Liberty took over Formula One, they were one of the first people to come out and say, we have an agreement with the new owners of Formula One to hold a race, and then nothing happened.
Did they announce that they had it without actually having it and everyone got a bit confused?
They had a meeting, the president of Turkey had a meeting.
There are reports as of 1 hour ago on a website I've not heard of before, so let's take this with a pinch of salt, but Turkey claims it is working to host F1 this year.
That would be awesome. That would be pretty good.
Um,
It was a good circuit.
Got decent races.
Put some really good races up.
I mean, would we get to see the Red Bulls take each other out there 2020 styley?
No, because I don't think they'll be close enough.
Yeah, apparently there is a statement on the government of Turkey website saying that they are working under the presidential auspices of the Republic of Turkey to bring F1 to the Istanbul Park.
But isn't Turkey run by a complete dictator? And that's a little bit too Bernie.
If he is dictating that F1 comes to Turkey, then it happens.
F1 may not have much of a say in the matter.
F1 probably only wanted one race in Bahrain.
So this 16 to 18 races may become a thing, and it's going to be all in triple headers, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
it is, because we've got another triple header after this triple header, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, they do have the option. The FIA have actually allowed them to run the season till the middle of January. Chase Carey said that he didn't particularly want it, but it was there as an option.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That would be really, but not difficult. But I mean, I think I think Ross Brawn was saying this week that running to the middle of December is what they're aiming for, and if they can get 18 races in, I think that's sensible enough. They've got special dispensation to call this a World Championship because they had the races booked in the US, Mexico, Canada, Brazil, and the cancellations are not of Formula One's doing. They are, unforeseen circumstances. So the FIA have given Formula One special dispensation because it has the heritage as well of having a World Championship. They can hold wherever they want to go and call it a World Championship.
Yeah, I think, and for the TV deals, it was a minimum of 11 races. Any less than they had to start paying money back as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, remember when 18 races was more than a season?
Yeah. It's I've seen people arguing on Twitter quite hilariously. Hamilton's not going to have a proper World Championship because it's only going to be a European Championship. And then people coming back with like, well, Schumacher won his World Championship with 16 races. He won 2 World Championships in season of 16 races. He's still got to win,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the races are or how many races that there are, because at the end of the day, you're holding a competition over a set amount of races with a set amount of points. At the end of the day, whoever's got the most points wins that competition.
Correct.
In basic terms, yeah, you can't argue with that.
Oh.
Fact.
And Lee's Fact of the Month was brought to you by... oh, no, sorry, that's next week, isn't it?
Looking for a hard fact from Lee for next week, then.
I think we should change that up next week, and we'll all read it between us.
I thought you only wanted to be friends.
Do you think I was so upset that I had to do this one from home tonight?
I mean, that was the thing, you know, me and Sean both may be slightly contagious with this stomach bug, and we know how close you two like to get, so...
Right, well, that's it. You know, it's one of us gets sick now, the whole team's down.
And Lee, we're doing you a favour by not giving you the opportunity to have a child where things are leaking out of them in more places than normal.
You can't run a business with two couples. It just doesn't work.
Dream still lives on.
Oh my god. I don't think we've got any other major news apart from I have just seen that Codemasters have added the new Mercedes livery into the F1 game.
I saw that.
What about the Williams livery? They released theirs first.
I think it released with the new Williams livery, didn't it?
Let's be honest, which one is there going to be more demand for?
Don't know, actually. I haven't seen enough on screen.
Well, at the moment, amongst our listeners, it's got to be Mercedes because the current Formula Lee Challenge is a Mercedes in the dry in Australia. The challenge finishes on the 3rd of August at 6 p.m. UK time. Brought to you by Scott 3D.
Yes, I'm having a little bit of a difficult time with this. And obviously, I'm back in Formula Lee after 2, possibly 3 years out.
All right, Fernando.
I ain't winning shit, so you may as well carry on following me, Fernando.
Way!
And I haven't even played the bloody game for more than 10 minutes yet.
I'm still waiting for the adapter for my wheel before I have a crack at it.
Oh, how is the wheel?
Like it. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting used to it. The now it's not ripping my arms off. That's nice. Yeah, no, it's great. Like I genuinely love it, to be perfectly honest. Like the whole construction of it, it feels like a fucking Formula One wheel. It's great.
Well,
Should we preview?
I was going to say, if you want to find out what we're talking about here, then join us on iRacing on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, where we've got our league going. There's still plenty of spaces left. But now I think it's probably time to preview the British Grand Prix this weekend.
Yeah, Silverstone, as we know.
Yep, and I haven't been in touch with Dan to get any predictions.
You know what? There's absolutely nowhere to run and hide now, is there? The first 3 races that we've had this season have been on tracks where, you know, there might be a little bit of a power. Yeah, okay, right, you're on the throttle for 80% of the lap round Red Bull Ring, but it's a short lap. Swings and roundabouts, things, playing to smaller teams' hands. Hungary, Monaco without the barriers, always threw up a, slightly strange result anyway, despite the fact Hamilton, we'll ignore that. And Silverstone is the first big, open, fast, long lap racing circuit. And I think it's really going to separate the guys who've done a good job with the car from the guys who've done a shit job with the car. And I think we're going to see Mercedes and probably Racing Point galloping off into the distance, maybe leaving the others a bit in their wake. And we're really going to see how bad those Alfa Haas Ferrari trio are actually going to be.
It's going to be a nightmare for anything with a Ferrari engine in the back.
I am strongly inclined to concur.
And I think we will see both Williams in Q2 again.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know where Red Bull sit in this either, because obviously I thought Red Bull were going to do a lot better in Hungary than they did, but they did really well, comparatively so in Austria, despite the fact that Max actually finished second in Hungary. But just the general pace of the car, I don't know whether Red Bulls are really sitting up, for the bigger, I say the bigger races, like the classic circuits as we get into now, the Silverstones, Spain, if we go there, Spa, Monza, these kind of circuits, whether we're going to have a Red Bull at the sharp end, or a Red Bull just ahead of the.
I think
the
Red Bull
midfield
have
team.
took a step back.
Yep, I think that's a distinct possibility, and I think we might see that even more so. Sort of, there's nowhere to hide, is there, at Silverstone? Let's be honest.
No.
If you've got a
No,
good
no.
car, it'll show, and if your car is bad, yeah, it's going to show.
Yeah, I it's just because Red Bull were only really in the mix in the first race because Mercedes had problems, and then when it came to the second race we had, where, like I said, Austria, Red Bull have always been strong there, and they not for when you just had a straight race there in Austria between Mercedes and Red Bull. Red Bull didn't look like they had a chance of winning that race.
No.
So I think that it was almost a false dawn for Red Bull because of what Ferrari's done. I think Ferrari dropping back has made Red Bull look stronger. Whereas in actual fact, I'd love someone's probably worked it out, from lap times and stuff from last year. But I would be surprised if two Mercedes, Red Bull made up any time this year.
I think Red Bull as well might have been flattered a little bit by Racing Point having a few. They've had Perez lost a few places when he broke his wing. Stroll's had a DNF. They had a sloppy qualifying. Racing Point. I think if they'd been on it and reliable, possibly Red Bull wouldn't have a couple of podiums.
Yeah, definitely. I also think if we've said before, especially in the last race, Lance Stroll has done like a solid job since he's been given a good car. Perez is a solid like mid-grid driver. He's earned his place in Formula One, and he deserves to be where he is. But I do wonder how good that Racing Point would be with a better driver lineup.
Well, I think this week will be a good demonstration of how good the car actually is, or the best one we've had so far this season, because Silverstone isn't as complex as Spa. I'm saying that Spa is the benchmark for right. Okay, this is going to show us what the full Racing Point package is, because it's fast and it's technical.
Silverstone's still a technical circuit, though.
Not to the extent of Spa.
I'm not sure. I would put them in equal footing of like driver circuits if you want.
But I think
you've got to be brave at both circuits, haven't you? To get the best out of the lap and the best out of the car. There's an extra level of bravery at these classic circuits.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this weekend will show us something for Lance Stroll about how far he wants to, or how far he's able to push things, or what his cojones are actually like.
Yeah, I mean,
not as much as Belgium, but
Silverstone's got more high-speed corners, though. You take Eau Rouge out, and essentially that flick right-handed down the bottom of the circuit takes you onto the back straight. It's all sort of low, medium-speed corners, whereas Silverstone's got some. You look at Maggott and Beckett and Cops. There's some. The new turn one as well. Even there's some
Village, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Village, and then Farm is the top of that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's some absolutely monster corners in that circuit.
Yeah. I think Lance Stroll is primed to. This is a kind of circuit where he's actually going to shine in this particular Racing Point. Last year's car obviously wasn't anything to shout home about, but with Racing Point having made the leap, and we know why, but with Racing Point having made the leap forward that they've made, and I've said it ever since the racing restarted, if you give Lance Stroll a good car, it turns out he's actually all right.
Yeah,
I think this is the first real opportunity he'll have to prove what he can do in that car, and I think he's possibly on for a podium.
Ooh, big talk.
Maybe. I tell you what, I think like you were saying about people having nowhere to hide, this might be the race where Stroll's got nowhere to hide, because we've seen it from drivers before. You know, when all of a sudden they pull out a good result from somewhere and they do really solid. I mean, like usually maybe it would be more spectacular when someone sticks something on a podium or something like that. But we've seen drivers, and then the next weekend, normal service resumes, and they're exactly where they were before their good result. So it's whether he can build on momentum. That's the interesting thing here, and it does jump out at me how even the commentators said that on the team radio, he was very much talked around that circuit. You know, constant communication with his pits. And I do wonder how far that's possible to carry on. Do you know what I mean?
It's the same with the drivers. You know, there's nowhere to hide, is there? You know, so this is. I'm calling it, but I could definitely have called it wrong.
I mean, I'm going to get 1 week ahead of myself here, and I'm going to say look out for Perez at the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, because Silverstone's notoriously tough on tyres. The tyres are going softer, and Perez is good at keeping his tyres.
Yeah,
and he's going to have slightly weaker tyres than this week in a fast car. I think if we see a Racing Point on the podium, it's going to be Perez, but it's going to be a week on Sunday.
Maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe.
But I'll make that prediction official on next week's show.
Don't forget, if we do get 2 dry races in a row, Hamilton did do the fastest lap of the race last year on a set of hards that he'd had on since like lap 2.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe go on 1 compound softer is just the right thing to do for the track, rather than, you know, keeping it as it was. Like, because I'm just thinking, they're going to have all the data from last year's tyres, aren't they?
Well, they're going to have all the data from last year's tyres and last year's tyres. You know, they're running last year.
Yeah. Sorry, you confused me then. Yeah, yeah, they're going to have the data from last year's tyres, which is, you know, the ones that they're actually still using.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why they're mixing it up a bit for next week, or mixing it up as much as Formula One are allowed to. Thank you, Mercedes. I can't see past a Hamilton win unless there's fire.
Rain.
Rain is not
honest.
forecast presently.
No, it's forecast. It's forecast good, isn't it, for this weekend?
It's forecast good, and then pissing it down Monday, Tuesday next week.
Yeah, so should we do some predictions? Have we got predictions? Have we got Dan predictions? Or are we just going to put them?
I haven't got Dan's. I'm going to have to drop those onto the site later on.
You found a guest predictor.
I found a guest. It's a repeat guest, because I just stuck something on Discord saying somebody do some predictions quick, and Zach got back in touch and he's given me his.
Okay, so who wants to go first then?
Should we have the guest?
We'll
first.
have the guest. Yeah, Zach is up first. He's going for a Hamilton win, Bottas second, Verstappen third. Heroes are going to be Williams because of the upgrade, and Wankers Ferrari because, and he kind of ends it there.
Seems legit.
Seems like a sensible prediction from Zach there. I can't find a point to argue too difficult, with that.
I'll go next, because I always end up going last. So I'm going to go next, so I can't be accused of copying from anyone. And I am going to go for Hamilton win, Bottas in second, and I think we'll see Carlos Sainz in third.
It'd be good to see McLaren do well.
I fancy McLaren for this one.
McLaren really need to sort their fucking race pace out, don't they?
The single lap pace looks good. It's just as you say, it's their race pace. And again, nowhere to hide. We'll see how good that McLaren really is when we go around Silverstone.
I think there's a chance of it being the second best car.
Am I going next?
Do you want to go next?
I can go next. I will also go with the Hamilton win and the Bottas second, but I'm going to go for a Perez third.
Going on my maths, that'll make him second next week.
There you go then.
Right, who's next?
I'll go next. I'm going to go for a Bottas win,
Whoa.
Hamilton second, and Verstappen third.
And Chris, that leaves you until I send Dan a message tomorrow and get his.
I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. I'm going to say a Hamilton win, a Lance Stroll second, and a Valtteri Bottas third.
Ooh.
Actually, I'd like to change my third. I'd like to change my third to Perez. I forgot Racing Point were a thing for a second.
Despite me going immediately before you and also saying Perez.
I instantly forgot them. Instantly forgot they were either that they were a force to be reckoned with.
They're not a force anymore. They changed their name. We've been through this.
Sorry, I've got your point.
And the races, of course, their territory is near the Midlands. Going back even further, I'll just stop now. If you want to join in with the predictions, go to the website, threelegsfourwheels.com, head into the games section, and go to 2020 Grand Prix Prediction League. Get to predict when my mic stand's going to go rogue again and fly out of my way. But you get to predict the top three, pole position, fastest lap, and how many DNFs. And you've got until 5 minutes before qualifying starts on Saturday, which is 5 to 2 UK time, and wherever else you are in the world, use the internet.
Yeah.
Right, shall I hide all active screens?
I
Hide
think so.
all of the screens.
Right.
Screens are away from hands.
Right, I can't close one of the laptops because... Hang on, why don't I just minimise what's on there?
But it's only Audition that's like on the screen, so...
Yeah, but Discord's on the other. I might have just cut everyone off.
You have just closed the laptop and it's now blank.
Yep, so I'm just going to have to fill while I go back onto the laptop and...
We could witter and do some Hero and Rockstar and Wanker predictions,
Rockstar and
actually,
Wanker
because we didn't do many of those.
That is true.
I'm going to throw Tyres into the mix as a wanker because this is the harder of the two, isn't it, this race? So it's
true.
probably everyone's just going to do a boring one-stop.
That's true. You keep talking while I sort this out.
I've done my bit. Someone else's turn.
Well, I can't because I've just cut Discord off.
Oh,
so
shit.
Yes, I'll stop them talking.
Ah, Christ. So yeah, that would be a good wanker prediction. Hero prediction, I think, could be.
Right,
could you still
we're
hear
back.
me while I was wittering then?
You might as well go away. It turns out that this is what the people wanted.
The problem is that wasn't what I was recording.
It's all right. That was for them.
There were people on Discord who heard that. That's fine.
We were.
I was doing a monologue about tyres.
Nobody heard it.
They will hear it on the show. It will be new content for them when they don't get cut off the internet by Paul.
Me and Flood were just spending time with our people.
Oh my!
In such a way that we would probably have had to jack it if it had been on the actual podcast by any chance.
No. We were just absorbing the admiration. Look, firework gifts, Flood. We've got firework gifts.
I'm going for it. New. This is the content we want to hear. You see, that's it. That's it. I'm sold.
Someone just posted up saying you're now listening to Must See Podcast. You haven't changed the name of the show. You just simply took a word out of the name of my show. That's it. You haven't intelligently combined them together.
But that was it. It was brilliant because Paul's just like, I'm just going to minimize this window down. I was like, yeah, I minimized mine.
You said I'm going to minimize the window and then just shut the laptop.
Everything went super quiet, and I was just like, Lee, no, is there anyone there?
Oh, now the microphone's gone rogue. And...
Amazing.
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Right. Should we try that again and not look at screens?
Yeah,
Right,
don't look
we'll
at
try-
screens,
we'll
but
try
don't
that-
close the
Try
screens.
that again without looking at screens, and I am
Minimise.
Keep it. Everything's
He's
minimised.
minimised.
Everything's
He's minimised.
Yeah, the problem is the hinge on the laptop's broken, so if you move it at the wrong angle, it slams shut on you. This is why I've got a new laptop.
Let's get. I think we should go while the going's good.
I
Right.
think our total shunt might have died of laughter.
This one was sent to me on Instagram because you can do that. You can send me total shunts on Instagram at a total shunt, and it's from Brad, and he's asked me a few times, I think, to do his total shunt, and I kept forgetting. So I'm sorry, Brad. Here it is. I was born
Yay.
Yes.
in 1985.
Okay.
Okay. So 35 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to have 10 years in Formula One.
It's a moderate stint.
So
Okay.
it's not Esteban Tuero. Get well soon, by the way.
What's wrong with Esteban Tuero?
He was in a motorbike crash at the weekend.
Oh.
God, get well soon, Esteban Tuero.
I've been integral to the final part of some championships.
Oh, this is going to be a thing rather than a
It
person,
is going to be a
isn't it?
thing.
I'd like to guess, please.
Yeah, so I was born in 1985. What's the second clue again?
10 years in F1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 10 years in F1.
So I wonder what the safety car was between 85 and 95.
It was different, circuit dependent.
Oh.
Oh, it was, wasn't
Crazy.
it? Yes.
Because of some circuits, they had cars that really couldn't keep up with the pace.
What was Lee? Sorry, what
okay.
was the third clue again?
I have been integral to the end of to the end of many championships, something like that. It's gone now.
Could it be a circuit that would pop up late in the calendar?
The Hungarian Grand Prix had been, well...
Has done more than 10 years.
Yeah.
I would like to guess.
We're getting there.
Circuit that was around.
Now.
Circuit that was around for 10 years. I can't.
No, I can't. Who?
Agnico was around for more than 10 years.
And that was never.
Possibly.
That was never at the end of the championship, though, was it?
No.
What was
Adelaide, Australia.
Oh,
that sounds.
which stopped being in 96? So
Yeah.
that would be about right.
Yeah, Adelaide Street Circuit.
Let's go with that as a starting
Yes.
guess.
Yes, nice one.
Although slightly shorter, I'm still actively involved in motorsport. It could
Go.
be Johnny Herbert.
Could be. But he definitely
Friend
wasn't
of the
born.
show, Johnny Herbert.
Give him his full name.
I think it is a circuit, isn't it? Then
Yeah.
if it's something that's now shorter.
Yeah, I mean, didn't one of the reasons Adelaide got replaced with Melbourne was because it was too short and they were in danger of doing a sub 1 minute lap.
Something
Possible.
like that. Don't they still use the Adelaide circuit for V8 super trucks and stadium trucks?
Yeah, they might.
Could very well
Yeah.
do.
They probably do.
Clue number 5. I'm still regarded as a favourite by some drivers.
It was a popular venue, wasn't
People
it?
seem to like it.
Mhm.
Mansell hated it.
Yes. Till he won his final race there.
True.
Clue number 6. After my first race in Formula One, Bernie Eccleston told the media I was bad news for Europe.
Which would make sense if it's non-European.
I would like a guess.
I have no reason to stray from Adelaide.
No, I'll be happy to stick with that one.
What about Sepang? That wasn't.
That wasn't built in 1985. Though.
Yeah, it's a little bit later, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Was that a Tilke circuit that was just introduced in the 90s?
Yeah,
I don't
Also,
know
it
if it's
was-
Tilke.
it
but
was
Oh, was
Tilke.
it Tilke? Fair enough. One of his
And it did
better
a
efforts.
lot more than 10 years as well.
Yeah, I think 1985. Herman Tilke was still drawing circles on napkins or something.
Yeah, stick with it.
Stick with Adelaide.
I think so for now.
In my final race, Williams took the win.
With Nigel Mansell.
No, the final race at
96.
95, I think, was the final Adelaide race, because Melbourne's first race was 96.
That's where I'm confusing myself.
And 95 would have been Damon Hill. Or it wasn't David Coulthard, because David Coulthard stuffed it into the wall in his final race for Williams.
It was good.
Damon Hill.
It was good at stuffing it into the wall for his final race for a team, because that's what he did with Red Bull as well.
Yeah, he did. I think I can't remember who won the Australian Grand Prix in '95, but it must have been Damon Hill.
Yeah.
It's about the right time, isn't it?
The fastest lap ever achieved was 1 minute 15.831.
Sounds about right, possibly.
Yeah.
I was witness to many great drivers such as Senna, Schumacher, Mansell, Prost, Hill, and Hakkinen.
Yeah,
Still
Mika Hakkinen
ticking
had
the
his huge
boxes.
accident there. Yeah, Hakkinen had his huge accident that nearly killed him. I think that was at the final race at Adelaide. He went off the right before the main straight and to a tyre barrier, and I think. It may not have been Sid Watkins, but I think a doctor...
No, it was Sid Watkins gave him an emergency tracheotomy with a biro.
Yeah, with a biro, like a stripped a biro and basically stuck it in his neck underneath his Adam's apple to make sure he could breathe, because his neck was crushed.
Christ.
Yeah, Mika Hakkinen very nearly died that day.
Yeah, I knew he had a big crash. I didn't know that. Wow. I was a vital part to Ayrton Senna's final win.
His final win was
93.
no, his final win I think was Japan '93. I think was his last win. I don't think he won the final race of the season in Adelaide. He may have done.
To be fair, I will point out that the way this is worded is, I was a vital part of Ayrton Senna's last win. So I don't know what that would mean. Who knows? Who fucking knows?
No idea.
Well, you do, because you've got the answers.
I would hope so.
No, I don't understand the vital part.
We can look into this afterwards.
But that might throw us a little bit, or it might be the clue that we need to glue it all together.
From this clue, we can either take something from it or not take something from it.
It's either vital or not vital to this shunt.
Schrodinger's clue.
Yeah.
Lee, you may or may not give us the next clue.
No, that's it. You've got a Spaffer if you choose to accept it.
I think we still need to go with Adelaide. I can't think of anything else that. I'm not entirely sure. I think Senna's last win was at Japan, which would have been the round before Australia. I might be wrong with that.
So could this be playing a vital part in that maybe at some point he was leading this and there was some kind of shenanigan?
Don't forget, some years they did have Japan as the last race. I'm sure they did.
They did, yeah. There was a few years where it was the last race, and the Australian Grand Prix was always towards the back end. But for quite a few seasons, especially in the early '90s, it was the last race of the season. Then when they went to Melbourne, they decided to put it as the first race of the season, and it has almost been every year ever since, apart from Bahrain.
Shall we go Adelaide, or shall we take the Spaffer?
No, no. Let's just Adelaide Street Circuit. Go with it.
I'm confident enough. I think.
Okay.
I am the Adelaide Formula One Street Circuit.
Yes. Nice
well
one.
done.
What was the Spaffer, by the way?
I was Murray Walker's favourite.
Fair enough. That was a good one. Was that Brad that sent that one to you?
Yes, it was.
Right.
Very good, Brad.
Nice one, Brad. And how does anyone else get them in?
Send them in a personal message to me on Twitter or on Instagram at @ATotalShunt.
And if you want to get one on the reserve list for when Lee's not about, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. I'll pick those up. And if you want to get hold of us, we're on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, all of those at 3legs4wheels. And individually on Twitter we are...
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21.
And at Pablo100. Right, we'll be back next week with a review of a Grand Prix in Silverstone and a preview of a Grand Prix in Silverstone.
Quick bit of housekeeping.
Yes.
1993 Australian Grand Prix was Ayrton Senna's last win.
Okay, brilliant. So
Left-handed.
he won the last 2 races of that season then.
Left-handed Googling.
I'm left-handed. I always left-handed Google.
Oh, right-handed Googling for you then. Yeah, we'll be back next week with the first review preview of this current set of double headers things.
We mentioned Formula League. Do we need to mention iRacing things?
Yeah, iRacing this week. If you want to join in our league, drop us a message, and we're racing Skip Barbers at the WeatherTech Speedway Laguna Seca this Sunday, 8 o'clock UK time.
Like
Is
to have
there
our own
anything happening
esports team.
with the official Formula One game league? Do we have any information about that?
Yeah, if anybody wants to start look after the leagues, because we need somebody to run it on PC for definite, because none of us have the game on PC. Get in touch, and I've got a set of rules that Stephen Terra has very kindly put together for us for the leagues. I'll be posting those up on the site, and we'll be looking for race directors for all 3 platforms for it. So there'll be instructions on how to get in touch there. Just go to the website, threelegs4wheels.com, and that'll be in the games section probably by the time that this comes out.
And let me know when there's an Xbox League, and I'll come and join you.
That is cool. Right, if you're on Discord, hang around. I'll open the chat up. And other than that, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Laters.